Good morning, curling fans. We are here bright and early, or at least early, on Sunday morning. We are in the final round of the Schenkel here at Curling Club Wetzikon. I'm Lorna Rettig. We're upstairs in the club watching over all 6 sheets here. And this morning we have 2 more of our international guests to watch. We have the national team of Italy. They finished 8th in the most recent World Championships. They are currently ranked 11 overall in the world, and they are up against Team England. I think this is the first time we have welcomed, or for a long time, that we have welcomed a team from England. They are here with the British Curling Association. So we have also the team from Scotland. They're playing this morning as well. And it's our first time to look at the teams from Italy and England. They are both on 1 win so far. And both of them would love to finish nice and strong with a win. We still have the ranking games to go at lunchtime. And both of them would love to finish as strongly as possible in the overall table. And there's still plenty to play for out there. It's a really tight competition. There is no team unbeaten, and there is no team without a win. That's how close the competition is out there. It is Team Italy who start with last shot advantage, that little hammer, just above the Italian's head in the scoreboard. And as we often do, we're seeing a fairly conservative start in the first end. The team's just feeling out the ice, see if anything has changed a little bit in the ice conditions since yesterday. Sometimes the ice can be a little bit stiffer on a Sunday morning, early doors. But Danny Strife, the ice master here, he is known for really fantastic quality ice here at the club. And I'm sure he has made it nice and fast and swingy ice for all of our visitors. So we'll be saying hello to the teams in just a minute. But let's see who else is out there playing. As I said, there's still plenty to play for. It's still really tight all over the table. No team unbeaten. No team without a win. On sheet 1 then this morning, we have another team from Italy, Team Albatross Trentino from the club in the north. And they are up against Team Poland. Both of those teams having a nice steady competition. They're both on 2 wins. On sheet 2 this morning, we have, it's a big game there, it is Team Slovakia, last year's winners, and they are up against an informed Team Scotland, who had a draw with Korea yesterday. They'll be disappointed, though, Scotland, because they would feel that, yeah, the momentum was probably with them. But that's an interesting one. We'll be keeping an eye on what's going on over there. Both Team Slovakia and Team Scotland, they could both still qualify for the 1-2 playoff. And 2 very highly ranked teams there in the competition. They will both be out for a win this morning. On sheet 3, we are watching, it's the national team of Italy, and they are playing Team England. Next door, on sheet 4, we have an all-Swiss affair. It's the Swiss first team playing the Swiss second team, so they will know each other very well. On sheet 5, we have the team from the home club here in Curling Club Wetzikon, and they are playing Team Wagami. And we spoke to Team Wagami, who are not from Japan, as the name maybe sounds like. They are from the US, and we spoke to their skip, Jeff Snover. We spoke to him yesterday, and you will find that interview on the competition Instagram, telling us that no, the name isn't Japanese. It's an amalgamation of all the clubs, the different clubs that they're from. So they're taking on the home team on sheet 5, and over on rink 6 finally. They are still top of the table, but not yet, not anymore unbeaten. They could only manage a draw with Scotland yesterday. And Team Korea, they are playing Team St Gallen, who are still riding high in the table from St Gallen Club, just about an hour away from us here. So plenty to play for. Several teams could still qualify for the 1-2 playoff. And even Korea, who have been welded to the top of the table, they are not guaranteed that 1-2 playoff, not yet. That's how close the competition is. And you should definitely set an alarm for 12:30 European time, viewer. That's when the ranking games are. The 1-2 playoff, 3-4, those are closed games. At that point, it is simply a win or a loss. We no longer need to count ends and shots scored as well. And at 12:30, all of the teams for the ranking games, they will be piped onto the ice by the Zurich Caledonian Pipe Band. That's always very special. Curling, of course, coming from Scotland originally. And many traditions of the game still associated with Scottish traditions. So we will have the pipe band welcoming all the teams onto the ice for the final games at 12:30 European. England and Italy then exchanging hits out there. Just getting the feel for the ice, nobody wanting to be too aggressive out of the gate this morning. Let's just settle into the game. We've had 3 continents represented here in the tournament. Several European teams, of course, and our visitors from Korea, who have had such a strong competition. They have just cemented their place at the top of the table, but their job is not done yet. They still need to win this game to make sure of qualifying for the 1-2 playoff. And all the way over on the other side of the world, we have our visitors from the US, Team Wagami. And we spoke with their skip, Jeff Snover, yesterday evening, telling us a bit about how that team got together. This is their first international competition away from the US. So we're delighted that they chose to support our competition. And they're up against Team Vetsikon on sheet 5 this morning, the home club. So that'll be an interesting one. Will there be home advantage for the Vetsikon team? I think both teams out there, Italy and England, I think both of them will be feeling good about their start. Both teams making their hits, making their draw. And this is always good to just get some target practice in the first end, settle the nerves a bit, and feel comfortable out there on the ice. It is Italy who are throwing yellow. They have last stone. England, with red uniforms, are throwing the blue stones. So don't get confused. Italy have the blue uniforms, but they're throwing yellow. And that's another very handy stone from Team England. The British curling setup. They have started having the English teams up for practice as well, to learn from the big experience in Scottish curling And we can see what a difference that's making. The first time we've had an England team here for a long time. And having a good competition out there, the English team. A lot of these teams will be travelling after this competition. They will be off to Scotland for next weekend. There is another international wheelchair event there, and they get to play each other all over again. And yeah, no problem there. Another nice connection. The Team Italy just removing that English counter. Team England then with an empty house. They can choose where to put a stone. A bit of target practice for them. This is always helpful. Just have a couple of throws at the house. Make sure you've got tee weight. Draw weight in your pocket. And just changing up the angle, changing up the place for Team Italy to throw a hit as well. Let's not give them the same shot they just played. So this looks nice from Team England. Is that one going to hang on? Surely it is. Yes, it is. So it is behind tee, but I don't think that will make any difference at this early stage. I think indeed, yes, the brush going straight down for the hit. We were talking a little bit yesterday. Ooh, and that is, I think, our first miss in our featured game this morning. And that was last stone, and that's a bit of a costly miss there. Rather by magic. That ends up being a steal for Team England. That's a nice little gift on a Sunday morning for them. But early doors yet. I don't think Team Italy will be too phased by that. But still a nice little surprise for Team England. They set themselves up with a chance and they are rewarded with a steal of 1 point. And that means that in our featured game this morning, it's the final round of the Schenkel in the 16th International Wheelchair Curling Competition, curling tournament rather, here in Curling Club Etsicon. And it is Team England who have a narrow lead after one end. They lead Team Italy 1-0. If you are just waking up, then welcome to you. We are here bright and early in Curling Club Etsicon. It is the final round of the Schenkel at 8:30 in the morning. Everybody's up early. But both teams having a fairly bright start here in our featured game. Just that one miss with the final throw from Italy, but they won't be too worried about that. It's pretty early doors. Don't get confused. It is Italy with the blue uniforms throwing yellow and England with the red uniforms throwing blue. And this already a bit more of an aggressive start from Italy. More trying to keep stones in play rather than going for the hit. But that stone sliding on a little bit too far and then giving England a choice here. I think this makes sense, even though that stone is at the back. Maybe the English team still not fully confident to put a stone in the front ring and saying, it's still only second end. I do think that's the better shot, yes, it is putting a second blue in, because your blue at the back there, that's already lying shot at the moment. But I don't blame them if they feel like being a little bit conservative still at this early stage in the game. But this shows good courage, so good for you, England. What are our objectives for this second end? Score is still fairly low. We're just in the second end, so objectives still fairly simple. Italy, they have last stone, and they would like to score big. And as we were speaking about yesterday, scoring big means more than one when you have last stone. And England's objective is simply to prevent that. England are +1. And they certainly don't need to be particularly aggressive. But at this stage, definitely the best way of preventing from Italy scoring is to give them something else to think about. So don't let them build up stones in the house. You do that by putting your own stones in there first. And that's a super shot, though, from Italy. Does get both blues moving. And let's say hello to the teams. So, throwing for Team England. I think the front end has switched, but on the ice we have Karen Aspey, Julian Mattison, George Potts, and at skip for Team England is Stuart Pimblett. Their alternate Jason Keane, and their coach, we may see for a coach interaction, Tony Lenton. On your screen there, Julian Mattison throwing second. And that's a great shot from him. Really nice. Getting rid of that Italian stone in the forefoot and finding a really nice spot with his blue shooter. And for Team Italy, very familiar name throwing lead, Angela Minardi. Second, Matteo Ronzani. Third is Fabrizio Bich. And skip is Marchese Egidio, pardon me. That's a lovely shot from Italian second thrower, Matteo Ronzani. You do occasionally see slightly different tactics in the wheelchair game, and that's often due to just the small differences between wheelchair play and able body play. Sometimes you see the wheelchair players playing from the centre out towards the wings rather than out to in. Sometimes they find that a bit easier. And yeah, sometimes the hit and stick can be an easier way of getting a stone into play rather than a dead draw, because of course the most obvious thing about wheelchair sweeping, the difference compared with wheelchair curling, I've given it away, is that there's no sweeping in wheelchair curling. And if you think about the games you play yourself, think how often you use those sweepers, particularly say on a draw or a guard or so, to just make sure it's in exactly the right place. And no sweeping in wheelchair curling. And sometimes just those small differences that can make the way of achieving your aims just a little bit different in the wheelchair game. There were hints of getting stones in play at the beginning of this end, but some nice shots from both teams means that we're back to playing fairly conservatively. No mistake again for Team England, and they're getting some nice hit and rolls this morning, both teams. The further away a stone is from the centre, I wouldn't quite say the harder it is to hit. All these players, they play very regularly. But just catching the outside and just rolling away from centre. And a little bit more of an awkward position. A stone straight up the centre of the ice is typically easier to remove than a stone further out. Oh, there we go. I can only apologise, Italy. The commentator's curse there. That, yeah, particularly I think for the wheelchair athletes, because they're not starting from the hack, they're starting a bit further up the ice, and removing a stone or aiming for the edges of the sheet is just a little more, the degree of difficulty is just a little more compared with foot players who are driving out from the hack. The call from Team England to just try to put a second blue into play, put a bit of pressure on Team Italy, but that just overrunning a little bit. A bit of a let-off for Italy. They will have a second chance to remove that blue. Now, will they approach from the same handle? They are. Third thrower, Fabrizio Weich, just needs to make sure he's lined up. This one looks much better. That's a great view. That's exactly the view that Fabrizio himself would see from the throwing end. And no mistake there. And he has beautifully replaced that English stone with an Italian one. And now let's see how England get on looking at that stone all the way out on the edge of the sheet. The England team all relatively new to curling, most of them in the past 3 or 4 years. We also were speaking yesterday to Team Scotland, and they also have a mix of experience and new faces in the Scotland lineup. We were talking to Keith Gray from their team, and he was telling us how to get involved in curling, at least in Scotland. And certainly if you're a wheelchair user or your friend or colleague is a wheelie user, it's very accessible in Britain. And yeah, 3 of our Team England out on the ice, new in the game just in the past 3 or 4 years, and already achieving very highly. So yeah, if you're a wheelie user or you have a friend or colleague who would like to try curling, it's very, very accessible. Just get in touch with your local club. Doesn't need to be a dedicated wheelchair club. Jeff Snover yesterday from the US, he was saying that he's the only wheelie user in his regular club. But it's no barrier at all. It's perfectly usual at club level. He was telling us as well that sometimes he's the only wheelie user playing at the club, or sometimes their team, Team Mogami, they're the only wheelchair team in a AB competition. You don't need any adjustment to your day-to-day chair, and you don't need your own delivery stick. You see all the players on the ice today, they all have their own delivery stick, but you don't need that. The club will have one. So it's a very accessible sport. We have plenty new faces in the sport in the past few years. So do go ahead and get in touch with your curling club, and they will be delighted to help. One stone each in our second end of our featured game this morning. We are watching Team Italy playing Team England. And looks like Team England have handed back a little gift to Team Italy. That's a unlucky miss there from Team England, and again, I think that could be costly for them. Just that one loose shot, and suddenly, from what was a very conservative close to this end, Italy have a chance to put 2 on the board. And the Italian skip, Marchese Idigo, making no mistake there, and England will be kicking themselves a bit. That was a good end, but just a last stone mistake there, and no mistake from Italy. So in our featured game here, after 2 ends then, it is Team Italy 2, England 1. On the screen there, you can see all of our sponsors. We say a big thank you to them, as we've been talking to the teams, and you'll find those interviews on the tournament Instagram, and the Instagram handle is IWCT for International Wheelchair Curling Tournament, IWCT_CH. There you will find all of the interviews with the teams, and all of them saying how easy it's been for them to come here. Very good organisation. We pick everyone up at the airport. Everyone stays in the hotel across the street and come and go as they like. And that's all thanks to our kind sponsors who make this a really attractive competition. And all of our teams have a really positive experience here, and that's why they keep coming back. This has really grown to be one of the big competitions for the wheelchair teams. We're still a little bit behind the men's and ladies and juniors and whatnot in terms of a full calendar, or let's say an aligned calendar. But certainly this competition and the competition next week in Scotland, a lot of the teams from here, they'll be travelling to Scotland for next week's competition in Stirling. And both of those competitions, real key in the wheelchair team's calendar now. It is Team England then who have last stone again. Or actually, for the first time in the game, it's Team England who have the last stone, and playing away from the centre. Tried to tempt Italy into playing the game more towards the edge of the sheet. But Italy going for the best form of defence being attack. And Angela Minardi, look at that. She could not have placed those stones much better. Just drifting on a little bit, but that is a very nice pair of stones from her. Giving England something to think about in the middle of the sheet. Minardi, very famous name in Italian curling. We've stayed at the Minardi family's hotel many times in Cortina, in the north of Italy. And of course that's where Olympic and Paralympic will be in 26. And many of the teams in our competition here will be already thinking about the qualification for Paralympic for 2026 in the north of Italy. And speaking of which, let's see how everyone else is doing this morning. As we said, there's still a lot to play for. There is no team unbeaten out there, and there is no team without a win. That's how close the competition is. On sheet 1, we have the other team from Italy, from Club Albatros Trentino, and they are taking on Team Poland. And it was a steal of two for Poland in the first end. They're getting stronger and stronger in the competition, Poland. On sheet 2, that is a real key game on sheet 2. It is last year's champions, Team Slovakia, and they are playing in-form Scotland. And it was a steal to Scotland of 1 point in their first end. That will be a really decisive game, that one. I think whoever, depends a little bit on other results, but whoever wins between Slovakia and Scotland will get themselves into the 1-2 playoff. It is possible that both of them could qualify, but we will need to see. We'll come back to the scoring system shortly. But yeah, it's Scotland with an early slim lead over last year's champions Slovakia. Next to us on sheet 4, we have Switzerland first team versus Switzerland second team. And as you might be unsurprised to learn, that's a very close game. That's 1 each after 2 ends. On sheet 5, we have our visitors from the US. It's Team Wagami. They are playing the team who has travelled the least furthest to get here. That's Team Vetsikon, the home team. And that was a steal of 2 to the US in the first end. They are 2-0 ahead. And finally, top of the table, Korea, who are not qualified yet for the 1-2, in spite of being glued to the top of the table. Actually, since the first round, they are still not qualified. That's how close the competition is. And they had a bright start over the team from St. Gallen, who are having a super competition. They are still second in the table. We spoke to the St. Gallen team skip, Burkhard Müller. We spoke to him on Friday. You can look at that interview also on Instagram. But it's the Koreans who made good use of last stone. And they are 2-0 ahead after 1. Oh, and actually, they just put up the second end score, and they got a huge seal of 3 in the second end, so they're already 5 points ahead in their game. Not qualified for the 1-2 playoff yet, Korea, but a very strong start to get themselves there. So back here in our featured game, we have a few more stones in play in our third end. That's always nice for we viewers. It is England who have hammer after Italy scoring a slightly unexpected 2, just a 1 loose shot from England, but that's all it took. And Italy saying thank you very much, but it's England who have a nice setup here. There, that yellow not quite curling enough, and actually just nudging the blue more towards the centre. So this is looking like a nice setup for England in this third end. Loads of experience in the Italian team. Italy, of course, one of the traditional countries that we think of for curling. The Italians currently ranked 11 in the world, but they finished in 8th place in the latest World Championship. So no dummies. That is a nice throw from England, from third thrower George Potts. Oh no, sorry, that was Jason Keane. No, it wasn't Jason either. Let's start again, shall we? That was a very nice throw from Julian Mattison. Thank you, Julian, for a nice throw there. Just really blocking that path to Italy. So this is setting up nicely for England. You can really see the benefit of them being part of the British curling setup, including Scotland and Wales as well. I don't know if I've ever seen a wheelchair team from Wales. Oh, but goodness me, that's a clever little shot from Fabrizio Beich. Let's switch things up a little bit. See, that does find the curl this time. Doesn't remove the blue completely, but that's okay. What it's done is move it away from the danger zone and right at the back, and that's a real good throw from Fabrizio. You'll see both the teams from the British curling setup, so Team England and Team Scotland. Both here with the coach, with the programme director, Sheila Swan. And really benefiting from that. I've seen the teams having debrief, team meeting after the games, just discussing what was good in that game, what shall we be looking up for the next game. Very thorough. And we always know that the Scotland teams are always very well drilled, very disciplined. And now really seeing results being part of that setup for Team England. And that's a great throw from, that is now George Potts. So this is more interesting end for wee viewers, more stones in play. It's England who have last stone here in the third end. They really handed Italy that chance for 2 points in the second end, so they will be very keen to try to get 2 straight back on the board. Now, who is going to be first to find a roll towards the centre and hide a stone in behind all that nice cover? That's the idea. That is a great shot. It is George Potts who is the first to find the roll behind cover. Big smiles from Team England. Definitely worthy of a fist bump, that shot. Let's look at that again. And a lovely little roll just towards the centre, in behind all those guards. That's a lovely shot. So not much we can do on the clockwise handle anymore for Italy. Their objective hasn't really changed. They are still trying to prevent England from scoring big, so they don't want England scoring 2. But England scoring 1 is fine enough. That would level the scores, and that would hand last stone back to Italy. That's not quite what he wanted, though. It does block the path for England, but yeah, you can see what was the idea there. The idea was to roll all the way up to that blue at the back. So advantage England a bit here in this third end. They are allowing 2 stones, those 1-2 blues. So their objective is to put 2 or more straight back on the board. And they are set up currently very nicely. We're at skipstones in the third end of our featured game this morning. We're at the 16th International Wheelchair Curling Tournament here in Curling Club Etzikon in the lovely Zurich Oberland. The organisers kindly organised some lovely weather for our visitors as well. So it's been nice and bright and sunny most of the weekend. Our visitors from the US were telling us yesterday, we spoke to Jeff Snover, the skip of Team Ogami from US. They were telling us that they'd managed to have fondue, that's the traditional Swiss dish, with the big pot of melted cheese, and you dip your bread in. And some of them have been to the chocolate factory as well. It's a lot of fun coming to this competition. So if you have a team that would like to play good quality curling against big international teams, and you can go to the chocolate factory, then look on the website, IWCT.ch, or you can look us up on Instagram. That's IWCT_CH, and get in touch. I think Chief Harry and the organisers, I think they're allowed a week off, and then they start already planning next year. And that's a great throw from Italy. Look at that, neutralising completely the damage. And all of a sudden, that guard that Italy threw looks very nice, doesn't it? So let's look at that again. There's the replay, and the yellow scooting in behind all that cover. No way to get to that yellow now. Yeah, big smile for Edigo Martesi. There's confirmation of the score on your screen. England were looking really nicely set up there, but not quite finding a good spot with Stuart Pimblett's first stone, and really being punished for that. We're at the throwing end. This is the view that Stuart Pimblett will see when he goes to throw. And I think they're wondering, what if we punch that blue forward, so the blue just on the left of the centre line? What if we just punch that forward a metre or so? That would be a possible throw as well. I think that's probably the most likely successful shot, actually. We would call that the percentage shot. Again, if you think how much you use your sweepers for a draw shot, particularly if you're wanting to curl a stone in behind guards, you really typically use your sweepers quite a lot to help with the line and help drag the stone a little bit further. No sweeping, though, in wheelchair curling. So sometimes it can be easier to put stones out front and punch them forward. So that's a brave try from Stuart Pimblett, but I don't think that's going to make a difference, no. So, well, what do you think, viewer? Do we need a measure? I don't think we've seen a measure yet this weekend. And this morning, we have another sprinkling of yellow volunteers. Big thank you to all of our yellow volunteers over the weekend. They are there to just keep the game moving along. There you can see volunteer Sybil. And she's just cleaning the bottom of the stone. So yeah, the volunteers make sure the stones are in the right place. There we are. Lining them all up for the fourth end. And just clean the bottom of the stone. Give that to the player, and that really just helps keep the game moving along. And we have yellow volunteers at the other end as well, so that if a stone goes out of play at the home end, then they make sure the stone is cleared behind the sheet as well. So that was one blue. We didn't need a measure. The teams agreed the blue was closer. And again, England will be a little bit frustrated with that. They were again set up pretty nicely in that third end, but couldn't quite capitalise. So I think narrowly it will be the Italians who are potentially feeling happier with their start. But a close game, as we expect. Scores are tied in our featured game after 3 ends. It is Italy 2, England 2. Karanaspi setting us off in the 4th end. We're approaching the halfway here in it's the final stage of the Schenkel. If you have played curling in Scotland, you will probably know what a Schenkel system is. Not so familiar to our visitors from other countries. And in a Schenkel system, it is not only about winning or losing a game, ends count and shots scored count as well. So at the end of every round, the teams are ranked from 1 to 12 on games won, ends won, and points won. So even if you're maybe not winning a game, it's still worth playing on because you can still score 1 or 2 ends for your overall scorecard. And it all counts. But this is the final round of the Schenkel. At the conclusion of this game, the teams will be ranked for the final time 1 to 12, and then we will have the ranking games at 12:30 for the 1-2 playoff, 3-4, etc. And those are closed games, and that means that it is now a win or lose. So we won't have an extra end in any of the rounds. If the scores are tied after 8 ends, they simply stay tied. And instead of 2 points for winning a game, you get 1 point each for a draw. And that did happen yesterday. We had a real battle between Korea and Scotland, both of whom have been floating near the top of the table all weekend. And with the very last throw, Korea were behind for 127 out of 128 shots in that game. But magically managing to get a draw in the end. So that was 1 point each. And that brought Korea's unbeaten run to an end. This is a nice start for England. Nice throws from Karen Asprey. Putting up the guard in the centre with her first throw, and then putting a really nice front of house weight with her second. It is Italy who have last stone in the 4th end. And an early mistake from the Italians. Giving England a chance to consolidate this nice setup. Julian Mattison ready to throw. This is nice from Julian. Lovely throw from him. As we've been saying this weekend, it's that area right in front of T-line, so the horizontal line through the circles. That area right ahead of T-line in the centre, that's the most dangerous area. That's where you're most likely to score points. And that's why Team England, that's where they're aiming for. If Italy want to make positive use of last stone here in the 4th end, that's the area they need to control. But currently it's England who have a really nice setup with their first 3 stones. Oh, and Matteo Ronzani so close to making the double there. Just the one. Look how close that blue was to taking the pair of them out. Good effort from Matteo. Julian Mattison then being asked to remove that yellow in that danger area. And he does that very nicely. Looks like from Stuart Pimblett's reaction that that blue not quite hanging on over there, but I don't think that will be important later. So this is sensible play from Italy. England have a real nice stone now in the 4-foot circle and a guard out front. So if Italy want to make positive use of last stone, I think, yes, it's time to clear a bit of space out front. And really nice, tidy throw from Matteo Ronzani. Good friend of mine from US Curling, Courtney. She's a very, very good coach and, well, a very good tactician. I don't know if she does a lot of coaching, but I find her a very good tactician. And she says if you have last stone, then removing a centre guard is rarely a bad idea. And I fully agree with her. And that's exactly what Italy have done. So now they force England to put that guard back. It's the first throw of this 4th end for George Potts. And that stone running on a little bit. That looks kind of fancy just now. 2 nice blues real close to the centre there, but yeah, you can see the problem. 2 blues close together means it's possible for double takeout. First throw for Fabrizio Bich in this 4th end. He has a chance to make the double takeout. Not quite, but he's found a nice spot for that yellow. Oh, just over curling slightly. That's one of those stones that you see sometimes in wheelchair curling, and you think, oh, if only we'd had a couple of big sweepers on that one, it would have been perfect. But that's the degree of difficulty in wheelchair curling. No sweeping. As soon as you release that stone, you have to get it right first time. And we can see from the overhead there that, unfortunately, it is still a blue lying. Well, unfortunately for Italy, but happily for England. So same drill. Oh, you just saw Chief Harry going past in the background there. He is the overall organiser of this competition. He's been a real champion for the wheelchair game since the beginning. The wheelchair game been around about 20, just over 20 years now. And getting better all the time. Can you believe at the beginning, we didn't even have stick delivery. You just leaned over and threw with your arm, but I don't think the players were very balanced doing that. I think that was particularly difficult. And now, as you can see, they all have a delivery stick that's much more consistent. And I am missing out. What an awesome shot that was from George Potts. Again, he could not have gone up there and placed it much better. So England will be very happy with their form. They just need to tighten up a little bit. They just had a couple of loose shots that let Italy back in the door. But Italy, they have a lot of work to do with these final stones to make good with last shot here in this fourth end. And that stone just catching the wrong angle, or rather just catching the guard on the way and getting a redirect. I think that may have made life a bit more difficult even for Italy. That's a pity for Fabrizio Weich. England's skip then, Stuart Pimblett, can really put some pressure on Italy here. It is England still line 2, and they do have a guard out front. England's objective without last stone, pretty similar to what it has been for the teams without last stone so far. They just want to stop Italy scoring. The scores are tied, so in a close game like that, at this relatively early stage, you really just want to make sure your opponent is not having chances to score big. Stuart Pimblett's first throw in this fourth end. We're approaching the halfway. And same kind of shot that they've been playing most of the end here would be fine. They really wanted this more out front. And that stone running on a bit, but actually ending up at the back there, that's okay. If that stone is not going to land in the front of house, then you don't really want it on the tee line, because then that opens up a nice hit and roll behind cover for Italy. So actually, not a disaster that that stone runs through. So we have 3 stones to come, 2 for Italy, 1 for England. Joe Marchese, he's got a target now. Yellow onto blue, he's aiming for. Ah, he's a bit unlucky there. Just catching the front blue. I think he was really aiming for the outside yellow. And again, oh, if we could just have had a couple of big sweepers on that stone, we'd have got it. Well, that blue now out in the open. I reckon we will see England just try to drop something in front. Same idea as the previous stone. I'm sure we'll see Stuart Pimblett make an adjustment from his first throw. That's running on a bit as well, though. That is running on as well. And that is going to roll too, or slide too far. So that's given a lifeline to Italy. Well, they're having a look. All those yellows are so tempting, aren't they? The discussion here will be relatively straightforward for Italy to go for 1 point here. You can see that blue. I think they can see all of that from the throwing end. So fairly straightforward to throw a stone straight up the middle and just punch that blue through. It looks like that's what they are doing, but I don't blame them. All those nice yellows on the edge of the sheet. Oh, was there some way we could bring those into play? But I don't think so. Sometimes you just have to accept that you just have to take your medicine. There's only 1 point available in this end, and let's focus on the next end. Final throw of the first half for Edigio Marchesi. Oh gosh, he'll not be happy with that. We did not give that stone much of a chance to get to its target there. And that is a big gift for England. Big smiles from them. I think that might even have been a steal of 2 there. And Italy will be kicking themselves with that. They will not be happy. That's quite a difference between scoring 1 and stealing 2. But it's now half time. They may have their coach come down to offer some advice. Their coach is Roberto Maino for Italy. You can see him just there in the background. And Tony Lenton is the coach for Team England. We can say thank you to our sponsors of this wonderful competition. It really just gets better and better. Our streaming partner, again, this year is Media Rent. And they're always thinking of cool new things that we can do at each tournament. So this year, we have our interviews with the teams, and you can check those out on the team Instagram channel. That's IWCT_CH for the Instagram. And of course, you can catch up with everything, all the scores and information for the whole tournament on the tournament website. That's IWCT.ch. But we're delighted to be partnering with Media Rent again. Makes a big difference when you have the live stream. I think the teams really appreciate it. It can be very helpful to watch your game back again and notice what was working well. Did we make any mistakes? So we're really delighted to have such high quality live streaming at our event. So while they're having some coach time in the fourth end, let's see what our other games are doing. On sheet 1, it was a bright start from Poland, but the other Italian team from Club Albatros Trentino, they really put their foot down. They got a 4 in the second end and a steal of 5. Oh no, in the third. And that means they are 9-2 ahead. They're also just approaching halfway. On sheet 2, that is a huge game. That is last year's champions Slovakia. They are up against in-form Scotland. And it was Scotland who had the early lead, but a score of 3 followed by a steal of 3 from Slovakia. That has put a big dent in that. But Scotland, nothing if not very tough mentally, very disciplined. They got a 2 back in the fourth end, and that means on sheet 2, critical game. It is Slovakia 6, Scotland 3. I believe whoever wins that game will qualify themselves for the 1-2 playoff. So a real big game over there. On sheet 4, it is the all-Swiss affair. The Swiss first team playing Swiss second team. And it is the Swiss second team who are ahead at half-time, 3 points to 1. On sheet 5, we have our visitors from the US, Team Wagami. We spoke to them yesterday about their big travels to get here. This is their first international competition away from the US, and we're delighted that they chose our competition to support, and they are playing the team that has travelled the least distance to get here, Team Vetsikon, the home club, and that's a close game. That's currently, though, our visitors from US, they are leading 3 points to 1. And finally, over on sheet 6, we have top of the table, Team Korea. They are playing second in the table, Team Sangalan, who have been having a super weekend. And it's the Koreans who have made the better start, though. They are 5-1 ahead. They've just finished their fourth end. And we'll see what the score is when they put that up. So a whole bunch of close games. Everything still to play for. Remarkably, Team Korea, who have been top of the table since the first round, actually, they're still not qualified for the 1-2 playoff. It is possible that 2 teams could overtake them still. That's how close the competition is. Nobody is unbeaten and nobody is without a win. Oh, that's a very close to the hogline stone from Karen Asprey, and in fact that is not going to make it across, so that's removed from play. All of the stone must be over all of the line. And you do see that sometimes after a half-time coach interaction. No stones have been played for a minute or two, and yeah, sometimes you just need a little bit extra push with that first throw. It's still Italy then, with last stone in this fifth end. And they'll be frustrated with themselves in that fourth end, but that's credit to Team England, who really didn't do much wrong at all. England just keeping stones in play, giving Italy a target to aim for, and Italy's final throw not finding its target and handing a steal of 2 to England. Bright start for Italy with a nice corner guard there from Angela Minardi. And Karen Asprey finding better weight with her second throw. We will play 8 ends only in this final round of the Schenkel. If scores are tied, they just remain tied. But in the ranking games at lunchtime, that begins at 12:30 European. Those are closed games, so then it is simply a win or a lose. Now, here's the beauty of the 5-rock free guard zone. As you can see, only 4 stones played. Nice throw from Angela Minardi there, removing that England counter, but only 4 stones played. In the old world, I'm sure we would see Team England remove that Italian guard, the corner guard. That's the danger stone. But in the 5-rock free guard zone, not allowed to do that. England then just wanting to call Italy's bluff, trying to get around that guard first, but this is the risk with aggressive stones. So it is high risk, high reward. If that blue had found its way behind the guard, you can see that would give Italy a problem. But the problem with high risk is that if it doesn't come off, and that stone from Julian Mattison just coming up a bit short, the problem is you've now given a bit of help to Italy. They have a double guard out front now. But that's exactly why the 5-rock free guard zone was invented. It was becoming a bit too easy to be defensive. Just remove that guard. The 5-rock free guard zone forcing the teams to be a bit more aggressive, keeping stones in play. And that's more like it from Italy. A nice throw from Matteo Rontani in behind cover. And can England find a way behind the guards now? So we will be watching the 1-2 playoff here in the live stream. We will be watching that at lunchtime. The show begins at 12:30, and make sure you're here right at the beginning, viewer, because we have the Zurich Caledonian Pipe Band is going to welcome the teams onto the ice. That's always very special. There are still several traditions from Scotland associated with curling, and that is one of them. So weirdly, there are several pipe bands here in Switzerland, and one of them, the Zurich Caledonian Pipe Band, they will be here at 12:30 to pipe the teams onto the ice. That's very special, so don't miss that. And followed by the welcome ceremony, we will be watching the 1-2 playoff, and it's still anybody's game. It is not clear yet who will be in the 1-2 playoff. The competition is really tight, and even though Korea have been glued to the top of the table, they still haven't qualified. Tidy play from Italy. This is just what they want. They've got a bit of cover out front. They do have a stone, at least half covered, I think. Well, looks like England thinking they can see enough of the Italian counter to move it. So George Potts being asked to throw decent weight at this. It's got a curl. Still got space. It still wants to curl. Is it going to make contact? That's nice from George Potts. Again, never easy. It's difficult to hit a partially hidden stone even when you do have sweepers to help with the line. And of course in the wheelchair game, no sweeping. Just increasing that degree of difficulty for every stone. Italy then wanting to replace that stone behind cover. They're not quite going to get that, but that's okay. You can see the weight was lovely there. That looked exactly T-weight. Just touching the guards on the way around. Again, tough shot, swinging around guards when you don't have sweepers to help. So this stone is open for England, but the good news is that there are still 2 corner guards for Italy. George Potts on target with his first throw. Coming at this one on the other handle, the anti-clockwise. And this is going to connect beautifully. That's a great throw from him. And now, what does Italy do? That's a nice overhead. That blue stone is, what, about quarter or 1/3 into the rings. The stone doesn't have to be fully inside the rings. As long as it's touching part of the rings, that will count. And that's why you will see Italian skip Edigio Marchesi indicating to remove it.
I didn't want to hit it too hard.
The other option would be to just ignore that blue and try and come around the guards again, but that blue is very dangerous, so I think this was a wise choice. And that's the situation now. So Fabrizio Bech indeed removing that dangerous England stone that was half in, half out. A good play from both teams, and that's why Italy not quite being able to set up 2 points at the moment. Remember, if you're going to get 2 points from your opposition, you need a mistake. If your opposition plays 8 out of 8 shots, you cannot get 2 points. You will only ever get 1. So if you want to get more than 1, then you need to do something a bit fancier. You need to get a mistake from your opposition, and goodness me, that is a great throw from Stuart Pimblett. A big smile from him. I'm not sure Italy will be able to remove that stone. I think their best idea will be to follow it. So a gentle weight then from Italian skip Edigio Marchesi. That's his view. He will be watching his stone the whole way up the ice. This is looking very tasty. His line is perfect. And his weight is not bad either. That is a super shot from the Italian. So no mistakes so far. Is anyone going to blink? Yeah, let's watch that one again. Perfectly around the guards, perfectly onto the target. Doesn't need to remove the blue. So it doesn't bother Italy that that blue is still hanging around. Important is that yellow that is close to the centre and really buried in behind those guards. Hard for England to get to, that's the point. So England trying to follow that stone. They don't quite have the same line though. I think, yeah, that they overthrew that a little bit, and the heavier a stone is, the less it will curl. And that's the situation there. So finally, with a superb throw from Edigio Marchesi, asking the question of England, and finally getting a mistake from the English team. It is Edigio Marchesi who has a lovely big open space to level the scores. He just threw a lovely weight, so he's looking for more of the same, please. Keep going, keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. It needs to be fully in, fully 12 foot. Keep going, keep going. Oh, that is heartbreaking. Ah! What a pity. Oh, I wanted to sweep that stone for him. That is such a pity for Italy. Gosh, they did the hard work. He got the difficult stone, the one in behind cover. And just coming up, not even half a stone short with his final throw. So yeah, a bit of a let-off for England there. That is really a pity for the Italians. It is a score of 1 for them in the fifth end, and that makes the score overall in our featured game. It is Team Italy 3, Team England 4. I'm sure Italy will be really frustrated with that one. That is such a pity. It was so close to being 2 on the board, and that makes a big difference. Either level score or 1 point behind. That is such a pity, but they need to put that out of their heads. They're playing well. They need to set up another good end here. Try to get a steal, or at least limit Team England. Don't let Team England get further ahead. We are now getting towards the close of the game. We're in end 6 out of 8. So time will be running out a bit to catch up a gap in the score. So ideally, Italy would love to steal this end, get some points even though they don't have last stone. But maximal, really, if England score 1 point, that's not the end of the world. Let's visit all the other sheets. How's everyone else getting on? As I said, we don't even know who's going to be playing in the 1-2 playoff. We know we'll be watching after the teams have been piped onto the ice, but it's still not clear. That's how close the competition is. And on sheet 1, we have our other Italian visitors, Team Albatros Trentino. They're playing Team Poland, and that huge seal of 5 in the third end is still having an impact. Poland did put one back on the board in the fourth end, so it's currently 9-3. The key game on sheet 2 is Slovakia or Scotland. Whoever wins that game, or if somebody wins that game, they will get themselves to the 1-2 playoff. If that game ends up in a draw, then it's a bit more complicated. But it's Slovakia who also had a big steal of 3 points in the third end. And it's Slovakia who are 7-3 ahead at the halfway. Scotland with work to do if they want to pull themselves up to the 1-2 game. Next door to us on sheet 4, it is the Swiss first team playing the Swiss second team. And it's the Swiss second team who are still narrowly ahead. They are up 3-2 after 5 ends. On sheet 5, we have the home team from Curling Club Vetsikon, the closest team playing one of our furthest away teams, our visitors from the US, Team Wagami, and it is the Americans who are 4-2 ahead at the after fifth end. Over on sheet 6, Team Korea, top of the table. They had a super start, but Team St. Gallen, the Swiss club, just about 1 hour away from here. They are really fighting back. It was 5-0 after 2 ends, but it's now 5-4 at the halfway. Good stuff from St. Gallen team. So like I said, still not clear who will be playing in the 1-2 playoff. No team is dominating. No team is without a win. And Karen Aspie catching the guard rather than her target stone, and that guard is still protected by free guard zone. And that's why you will see Eligio Marchesi just putting it back where it was. And it's up to him, or it's up to Team Italy, to put it back where they think it was. If there is any argument, then it's Team Italy's choice. And you can see his teammates at the other end just guiding him. Okay, as you were. Looks like a couple of folks from Team England suggesting a slightly different position for the stone. I mean, finally, it's up to Italy, the non-offending team. But everybody seems to be at peace with it now. And second thrower, Matteo Rontani, has a chance to consolidate this play towards the centre. Gentle weight from Matteo. This looks like a lovely throw from him. That's a great throw. Still good separation on those two yellows in the house. Difficult to get a double takeout. Lined up quite nicely from the throwing end, but a bit of distance between the two of them. But certainly we need to move something. It's his own target from Julian. Gets both of them moving, removes one. And the good news for England is that they now have 2 stones to play with in the house. Let's see that one again. So yeah, just going back onto the second yellow. That angle was difficult to make the double takeout, but he's moved everything around. Matteo Ronzani then being asked for the higher weight this time. He wants to hit and stick, so remove the blue and hang around with his yellow. And he's done that beautifully. No one's getting rid of that yellow. You can see the blue is right behind it. So that yellow, nice and safe. So we've seen a few throws on this clockwise handle, coming out to in towards the centre. Seems to be a tricky line though. We've seen a couple of stones curling too much and catching the guard, and other stones staying a bit straighter. Second throw from Julian Mattison, when he has caught the curl there. Does neither one nor the other. If you're going to catch the guard, then you don't really want to leave the guard at the same time. And handing a little bit of advantage to Italy. Italy thinking, yeah, we could guard up there. Remember, Italy do want to try to steal this end. That means score without last stone. And their best chance of being able to do that is to have a stone near the centre with a whole bunch of guards out front. The other option would be to use that guard that's already there and put a second yellow in behind it. Oh gosh, and that stone just going sideways towards the end. But found a very nice place to stay there. Weight was just lovely. First throw in the 6th end for George Potts. Very difficult angle. And that's the problem, yeah. If you throw that bigger weight, then it doesn't curl as much. And it hasn't curled enough now. So still England with the last stone, but advantage Italy at the moment. It looks like same idea for Italy. It's now Fabrizio Bich throwing, and he also being asked just to drop a stone in front of their yellow in the house. This looks super from him. Oh boy. That is a great shot. Really lovely throw from Fabrizio. Yeah, England need to clear a bit of space here. Definitely still space for England to make use of last stone. But Italy set up pretty nicely at the moment. And yeah, England have to clear a bit of space now. And this is exactly what George Potts was asked for. To open up those two yellows. He has done that beautifully. And same decision for Italy. They can either drop a guard in front of those two yellows, or they could bring a third yellow around those centre guards that are already there. But they know this line pretty well now. And Italy doing very well, not only frustrating England, not allowing England to build an end and get blue stones into play, but they are setting themselves up very nicely for a chance to steal. That's still got a bit of space to curl though. Okay, yeah, the weight was a little bit heavier than he wanted, so that just kept it a bit further out for longer. And that's not a terrible shot. That provides some backing for the two yellows that are there, but the good news for England finally is that those two yellows are open now. So Stuart Pimblett, he's been trying to set up this chance for several stones now to have a go at these yellows. And that's much easier now that there was no guard there. And does Italy have a choice again here? Let's see how that ended up. Hitting the target, just popping that yellow towards the centre. And yeah, Italy have a choice here. They can remove that blue and try also to roll towards the centre and just leave too much of a target for England to do anything about. Or they could just try and throw a regular guard right in front of that yellow that's just touching the centre line. And especially in this situation, that's really down to how Edigio Marchese, how he feels he's playing at the moment. If he's more confident to maybe play a hit and roll, that's one way of getting in England's way. Or if he is more confident with a guard weight, and just try to frustrate England that way. A lovely careful weight from the Italian skip here. Keep curling, says Fabrizio Bich. Ooh, has it curled enough? Is there a needle to thread here for England? His weight was perfect, you can see. So he was just looking to guard. There is a needle to thread. There is not a big space between those two yellow guards, but there is a space. And Stuart Pimblett and George Potts wasting no time putting the brush down. But this is not a big space. He will need to play this at a decent weight to hold it straight. Final shot in the sixth end. Is it going to be a steal to Italy, or is it going to be a score for England? Can he get the double even? Is he going to make it through the space? Is it going to curl enough? Oh, it just doesn't quite. So, oh, the Italian guard doing its job by just a couple of centimetres. And a huge smile of relief for the Italians. And in fact, that's a steal of 2. That yellow just being, there you go. Oh, not quite. I told you that gap was not that big. It maybe looks big from the overhead, but from the throwing end, that was a real tough shot. So a real strong end from Italy. They never allowed England to set up points there. Gave them a real tough shot for the final throw, and Italy's reward is a big steal of 2. And that makes quite a difference to the score. That means in our featured game, it is the last round of the Schenkel in the 16th International Wheelchair Curling Tournament in Club Wetzikon. And our featured game, it is Team Italy 5, Team England 4. We often find that sixth ends are very important, and that one was no exception. Quite a big difference between Italy stealing 2, making the score 5-4, rather than England scoring 1, and that would have made the score 5-3 to them. So a big difference there in who scored. And objectives now becoming really important. It is 5-4 to Italy. They are +1. But they don't have last stone. England are 4-5. They are 1 point behind, but they do have last stone. And it's really up to England to decide what the tactic is going to be in this end. They have last stone. So it's up to them to decide, do we want to be aggressive, keep stones in play, try to score? But knowing that we only have an 8th end and there's no extra end here, we will only play 8 ends. If scores are tied, they will remain tied. And that may influence England's tactics here. Indeed, Karen Aspey being asked to remove that Italian stone. That's a defensive call, so it looks like England have maybe said to themselves, yeah, I think we would maybe rather even blank this end. And I know we've discussed several times that this can be quite a silly idea to blank an end in this particular scoring system. But first things first, we do have to win the game. And England may be saying to themselves, our best chance of winning this game is if we try to blank this end. And then we would still be one behind, but we would have all-important last stone in the 8th end. And with that in mind, Italy, their objective is exactly the reverse. They do not want England to control this end. They don't want England to have opportunity to score nothing at all. And that's why we see the aggressive stone from Angela Minardi, putting a guard out front there. That will be protected by free guard zone for another 2 stones. Stuart Pimblett thinking that was maybe not enough ice he gave for Karen Aspey there. And we saw this a bit in the 5th end, that we had a couple of stones out front, and that really dictated the play of the end finally. That has found a lovely spot. Matteo Ronzani has been getting stronger and stronger throughout the game. Italy's objective, very similar to N6, and didn't N6 go nicely for them. They played 8 really lovely shots out of 8. Made life too difficult for England, and their reward was a steal of 2. So they would be very happy to do something similar. A steal of even 1 point for Italy here would be a very big deal. As we've been saying all weekend, scoring 1 point with your 1 last stone, reasonably straightforward. But scoring 2 or more, that is an entirely different objective. So if Italy would go into this 8th and final end, if they could be 6-4 ahead, that would put a whole lot of pressure on England. Yep. Italy playing the 7th end exactly how they played the 6th. Keep attacking that centre. Keep putting stones in the way. Don't let England get stones into play. So that throw from Matteo Ronzani, again, weight was lovely. He's having a real nice game out there, Matteo. Just over curling a little bit. Again, if only I could have run out onto the ice and swept it. I'm sure we could have held the line. So doesn't quite catch the angle he wants. But this is still nice, steady play from Italy. Not letting England settle, not letting England get stones into play. It looks like on sheet 2 in the all-important game between Slovakia and England, last year's champions Slovakia and Scotland. It looks like they're having a coach interaction, the Scottish coach down on the ice. Niall Ryder. And the score currently on sheet 2 is Scotland really battling back. They put a big 3 on the board in the 6th end, so it is 7-6 to Slovakia. They're in their 7th end. No wonder they want a coach interaction. Let's have a bit of advice. That game absolutely poised to go either way. As I said, if my working out is correct, then if somebody wins that game between Slovakia and Scotland, they will qualify for the 1-2 playoff. If that game is drawn, it's a bit more complicated. Korea over on sheet 6. They have been top of the table since the start of the weekend, but that has not been enough to qualify yet for the 1-2 playoff. That's how close the other competition is. The rest of the teams are. But Korea are starting to wind this up now. They got a big 3 in their 5th end and following it up with a steal. And over on sheet 6, it is 9 points to 4 in favour of Team Korea over Team St. Gallen. So 2 or 3 teams surely within the finishing line of qualifying for the 1-2 playoff. Just like we saw, though, in our featured game here, just like we saw in N6, Italy, the more experienced team certainly on the ice on our featured game here, finishing in 8th place in the last World Championship. And maybe that experience just starting to show. They're really making England's life tough, not letting England get stones into play, not letting England dictate how this end is going. And Fabrizio Bih also just catching the guard. Again, you can see the weight from Italy is just perfect. And if only we could go down and sweep their stones, we'd be getting them around all those guards. But they're still meeting their objective here, Team Italy, not letting England settle, not letting England dictate to them the tactics of this end. So yes, that yellow's open. But there's still guards in play. It's still an Italian stone in play. It's still England's problem to do something about. And if you're Italy, you are currently 5-4 ahead. A score of 1 point to England. That is absolutely fine for you. That would mean scores would be tied going into the 8th end, but Team Italy would have last stone. Oh boy, that is a lovely shot from George Potts from England. Yes, let's have a look at that one again. Removing that Italian counter and rolling perfectly behind cover there. So with one superb shot from George Potts. That shot has now changed the momentum a little bit. As we said, a score of 1 point to England. That's fine for Italy. That would level the scores. And Italy would have last stone. I think this is a very sensible decision here. They're signalling T for timeout. We will see the Italian coach, Roberto Maino, coming down to the ice. They do have plenty of time, actually, both teams out there. We've still got 14 minutes left on the clock, and they need to finish their 7th end by the time the clock reaches 0. The coach interaction is only 1 minute. And here he comes, Coach Maino. I think this is very wise from Italy. Even a score of 2 to England, not the end of the world. That would mean England would be 6-5 ahead. But again, Italy would have last stone in the 8th end. But their ideal situation is really England scoring 1. And I'm sure that's what they will be discussing, is how can we, from this situation, how can we try to get England to score 1? And England just using that opportunity to have a team meeting as well. Of course, their objective is exactly the reverse, but with that nice hit and roll from George Potts, they may now be thinking, okay, maybe we need to go for 2 points here rather than a blank. England do not really want to score only 1. That would level the score, but hand last stone to Italy, and that's not what they want. Let's hope then that Coach Roberto Maino was able to offer good advice and encouragement. Here's me watching all the games out there. There's a lot going on. And looks like Italy were trying to come up the anti-clockwise handle and maybe just get a yellow in on top of that blue. Is he going to make it round? He does connect, but at the moment, that is a nice throw from Italy. Currently, that's exactly what Italy want. It's 1 point for England. That's what they want. We have 3 stones to go then. In this finely poised game. Could definitely go either way. England were maybe a little bit ahead in the first half of the game, but Italy have been getting stronger and stronger. They really tightened up their play. They made a few mistakes in the first half that England took advantage of, but England not getting so many mistakes from Italy now. Maybe that slightly more experience in the Italian team, finishing 8th at the most recent World Championship. Maybe that just coming to bear. And you can see the idea here, England wanting to get a second blue into play. But that one is coming up short. And now Italy have just played this shot on the anti-clockwise handle. And they have a chance to really close down the scoring area for England. That's exactly what they want to do. Remember, their ideal result for the 7th end is 1 blue. Big shot here then for Indigio Marchesi. He can really put the pressure on England. He can really get his Italian team a little bit closer to the finish line. This looks lovely. He's just played this shot. He has just played this shot and he's just repeating it. That is a great shot. That is absolutely super. And what that has done is really cut down the scoring area for England. If England want to score 2 points now, they need a stone fully in the forefoot. Yeah, I want to watch that one again. That is such nice, mature play from Italy. Really sensible, really playing the scoreboard. They have completely cut down the scoring area for England, putting huge pressure on this throw from Stuart Pimblett. So big shot here for England. It is going to be a score for England either way. Is it going to be 1 or is it going to be 2? A score of 2 would make a huge difference to the 8th end. So the line looking really nice. Nowhere near the guards. This is awfully close for Stuart Pimblett. This is really close. Oh, that is a pity for England. But gosh, what great play from Italy. The coach interaction seems to have done the job. And advantage Italy. So some really excellent play from the Italians in the second half of the game. Means that they are with a slight advantage in this 8th end. Scores are tied in our featured game. It's Italy 5, England 5. So, cheery Italian conversation going on. They have really picked themselves up in this second half of the game. England not doing too much wrong, but really just a bit tighter play from Team Italy. And the pressure now on England to, well, the pressure on Karen Aspie specifically to set up this end. Objectives are very simple. Both teams need to score 1 or more. But yeah, both teams need to win this end. And Italy's ideal situation when Edigio Marchesi comes to throw his final stone is nothing at all. He would love to just have the whole house empty and just throw a stone, find the paint. That's Italy's ideal situation. England's ideal situation is pretty much the reverse. They would love to have a counter near the middle with a whole bunch of English guards out front. And Karen Aspie has played a beauty with her first stone. The guard nice and close to the centre line. Protected by free guard zone for 5 stones. So perfect start for her. This is an interesting idea. Angela Minardi just putting I would call that an insurance shot, an insurance stone. They're not really anticipating that that stone is going to win them the game, but if it comes to the final throw for Edigio Marchesi and it's some kind of hit and roll, or he needs to hit and stick, you never know. If he hit and rolls out, that initial throw from Angela Minardi could become very important. Now, England, they could easily remove that stone from Angela, and they will not do that because their priority is to get some cover up front, first of all. If they just remove that stone from Italy, they are wasting the opportunity to use free guard zone instead. As we said, England's best chance to score a point here is when Edigio Marchesi comes to play his final throw, that there's a whole bunch of stones out front that he can't get past. So that's a nice throw from Karen Aspey. I'm not sure if she wanted it at the tee line just yet. I don't know if she maybe would have preferred to throw a guard there. And that was the problem with not using the free guard zone to its full extent for 5 stones, that you let Italy take the game into the house immediately. That suits Italy. They're quite happy to do that, and I'm not sure about this from England. By all means, play onto that yellow, but I think the problem with doing this is that you are about to lose your one and only guard out front with Italy's next throw. So that is a nice throw from England. But I'm not sure that was the right throw. I think they would have been wise to maybe play more like a T-weight. Yeah, I would rather remove the guard here, Italy. There's nothing in the forefoot, and no guards makes England's life much more difficult, and I think that's what the team are suggesting. They would rather remove the guard. I think that's definitely the best shot. And gold star for you, Matteo Ronzani. That was the only stone, I think, that could really save England. And now it's gone. He will be very happy with that, Matteo Ronzani. Removing that English guard out front, rolling out himself. There is no more cover for England. Italy playing this 8th end very expertly. Well, viewer, we do have a result. On sheet 2, it was the crunch game between Slovakia and Scotland. And if I tell you that Slovakia put a huge 6 on the board in the 7th end. I think what that probably means is, yeah, Scotland were having to go all out to force a score, and high risk is high reward, as we said, and when you're taking high risks like that, if it doesn't work out, your opposition can put a huge score past you. So I imagine Scotland were playing that 7th end aggressively, and it not working out for them. Slovakia putting a big score on the board, and Slovakia taking that all-important game 13 points to 6. And I think that means that last year's champions... Let me quickly look at my ranking table to work it out, but I think that means last year's champions have definitely booked themselves a place in the 1-2 playoff. They definitely have. So we have one finalist for the 1-2 playoff, and that is last year's champions, Team Slovakia. We will be watching them from 12:30 this afternoon. Both the teams on our featured game, both on one win so far. They would love to finish the Schenko round robin with a second win. And I'm not sure about these tactics from England. I'm not sure how they are... I'm not sure how they are imagining they can get a stolen point from here. You don't really get stolen points by hitting. Italy have used their coach interaction. But everything in the 8th end coming up Italian at the moment. That's a lovely close-up of the stick delivery. One nice smooth movement forward. Yeah, this is sensible from Italy. Just keep the play away from the centre. And that stone's going to run on a little bit, but no harm done. For sure, Fabrizio Bich will have said to himself, okay, I do not want this stone short. Nothing short, please. So all the pressure on England to try and come up with a safe place for a blue stone. Here's a nice close-up of what you see from the throwing end. You can see that little hinged piece just at the end of the delivery stick. That's how you put the handle on. You have a little turn of the wrist, and that's how you set the stone clockwise, or in this case anti-clockwise. Now this is better from England. They need stones in play. They need either a freeze or a guard. And that stone, I think they were looking for the freeze onto the yellow, but important is that they have that blue in play. Now that blue is dangerous. There is only one sensible shot here, Italy, and that is to remove that blue. That's also a blue that England could potentially hide behind. If you're Italy, you want nothing in front of T and nothing in the centre. Not quite sure what all the chitter-chatter is for. I think there is only one sensible shot here, and that's exactly what Italy are aiming for. Final throw of this game for Fabrizio Bich. And he does remove that dangerous stone. He does leave his own hanging around. He would have preferred to roll out himself, but important is that it's nowhere near the centre. Sometimes if I'm coaching or advising, it can be helpful to think of an end as you have 7 set-up stones and you finish it off with number 8. So really nice clean removal of the blue stone. That was the dangerous stone, and just rolling away from centre. So we have 7 stones to set up the final stone of the game for Edigio Marchesi, and we should be using all 7 of those stones to keep the front of house clear and keep the centre of play clear. England then running out of stones a little bit. They need a good shot here. It's a brave effort from Stuart Pimblett. He's just going to run on about a metre too far. But that does mean potentially he might be able to have another look at it with his second throw. So Italy now, what's the best shot here? England only have 1 shot left. What's the best thing to do? I would say you really want to be lying 2 yellows after this first throw from Edigio Marchesi. And I might stay away altogether from that handle and just throw something on the clockwise handle. This is, for me, a little bit higher risk, this shot. You need it exactly in the 8 foot, really, to make a freeze impossible, but too difficult to go directly behind it as well. You definitely don't want is that it comes up short, but this looks like it's pretty good from Marchesi. It's a bit shorter than he wanted. There is space for England to sneak behind that stone, I think. Ooh, and we have another finalist for you, viewer. Over on sheet 6, it was a brave comeback by the team from St. Gallen against Team Korea, but finally Team Korea's experience bearing out. They win their game. What is that? 13 points to 4 finally. So a comprehensive win in the end for Team Korea, and we will be seeing a rematch. We saw Team Slovakia taking on Team Korea earlier on this weekend. But maybe not surprisingly, last year's champions taking on the highest ranked team in the competition. That's what we will be watching from 12:30. Don't miss the Zurich Caledonian Pipe Band welcoming the teams to the ice. So this is England's last throw of the dice and last throw of the game. Has Stuart Pimblett found a good spot? Oh, that is heartbreaking. It's just a stone too far. Great effort from Stuart Pimblett. But it is going to be Italy who take their final win in the round. A strong showing, though, from Team England. I feel they've had a good competition, maybe just a couple of tactical errors that they could think about differently another time. But now that they're involved under the British curling umbrella and training with Team Scotland, who, of course, also very, very experienced. Team Scotland have been, well, they're one of the top countries in curling in general, and they also really took to wheelchair curling right from the beginning. So a good show from England. Oh, this would be a lovely way to finish from Egidio Marchesi. And look at that, he doesn't even need the backing. And a happy congratulations from Angela Minardi. Handshakes all round, so that is a really well-worked score of 2. Very much a game of 2 halves we had this morning. England fairly consistent throughout the game. Italy missing a few in the first half, but really picked themselves up in the second half. And worthy winners this morning. Our final score in our featured game then, after a score of 2 in that final end to Italy, our final score is Italy 7, England 5. So we have one more game left here at the 16th International Wheelchair Curling Tournament in Curling Club Vetsikon. It will be the 1-2 playoff game. It will be the decider. We've seen both teams in action already this weekend, but they have both earned their place in the 1-2 playoff. It will be Team Korea, the highest ranked team in the competition. They will be playing last year's champions, defending champions Team Slovakia. All the teams will be piped onto the ice at 12:30 European. Don't miss that. That's always a very special event. And the game will begin at 12:45 after the welcoming ceremony. So come back to watch the 1-2 playoff. Last year's champions, Slovakia, will be playing the highest ranked team in the competition, Korea. Join us at 12:30. Bye for now.